Urban problems like traffic congestion, inequality, or housing affordability don't stop at municipal borders. Some 10 million people live in the Greater Toronto Region, overseen by more than 100 separate local governments. Each of these governments has its own priorities, plans, and policies, and they rarely align. This is what I call the Metropolitan Dilemma. What's the best way to govern a city made up of many smaller cities? It's a puzzle that affects urban areas around the world. How do we solve problems in city regions? Generally, in North America, we've tried 5 ways to answer this question. The first may seem counterintuitive: deliberate fragmentation. You can see this in the Chicago region, which has roughly 1,300 local governments and special districts. The theory here is that if small municipalities compete with one another to attract residents and businesses, they'll improve living conditions for everyone. Second is the opposite approach: amalgamation or annexation, merging smaller governments into a single larger city. Calgary and Halifax use this unicity model today. Toronto started out this way too. Both approaches have flaws. Fragmentation worsens inequalities and deepens divides, while amalgamation is costly and requires large bureaucracies. So in the 1950s, Toronto tried something new: a 2-tier metropolitan government. The bottom tier would take care of local matters like neighborhood streets and community centers, while the top tier would focus on region-wide concerns like transit, sewers, and housing. Cities around the world took notice. Metro governments popped up in places like London, Paris, and Tokyo. We use versions of metro government today in Vancouver and Montreal. In Toronto, though, the model broke down as the population quickly spread beyond Metro's boundaries. No one could agree how to redraw the map. So in the early 2000s, we tried a fourth approach, shifting responsibility up to a higher order of government, a process academics call rescaling. Transit planning would be led by a provincial agency, land use planning and housing by the Provincial Ministry of Municipal Affairs. The province, in essence, became a de facto regional government. At the same time, we experimented with voluntary regionalism, where mayors and civic leaders across the region choose to collaborate from the bottom up. Hundreds of voluntary arrangements exist in city regions across the US, and we've seen one emerge recently in the Toronto region, when mayors and chairs met regularly during the COVID-19 emergency to coordinate public health measures. Which of these models gets us closest to resolving the Metropolitan Dilemma? Truth is, there's no one solution. What works well in one city region doesn't always work in another. It's a dilemma, after all, but one that cities and city leaders must continue to grapple with if we're going to solve our most pressing urban challenges.